figured this was pretty overdue. I think there's a lot of questions, comments, concerns that I, as a man, am willing to answer. As I've gone through this with my wife, I want to lead an example for my son to face adversity head on, whatever it looks like. Good, bad, ugly. This is a blessing to be in this spot. I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for everything I've been able to do on the field. He's been the wind in my sails, and he's my foundation in times of need. And I'm excited for what's to come, and whatever chapter of my life that looks like. I've been tremendously blessed by the game of football.
What narrative or narratives have been the most false this offseason, or have been out there that not bother you the most, but that you want to clear up the most?
Man, that's a great question off the top. I think, the assumption of we had a predetermined notion of what I would be able to get in a trade value is not. There's no way of us knowing that. We were told what we were looking for, and if it was 5 first-round picks, I would have agreed. It allowed us to figure out my value across the league. Not only that, but personally, I was able to see what value I could bring to other teams and this team as well. Fortunately for me, a lot of the guys I've represented or have represented their teams at the Pro Bowl were all there with me. Danielle Hunter, Myles Garrett, Max Crosby. I've gotten to know those guys over the last 4 years, and through that, their teams have respectfully rewarded them for the hard work and dedication and willing to win that they had for their respective teams. So that was the one that didn't sit well with me. That narrative of like, we guarantee something, that's not possible to do. And, we gave it our best, but selling myself short is not something I was planning on doing in that process.
What did you say at the top? Sorry, y'all ended a little bit early for whatever reason. I guess, why did you end up coming out here wanting to do this today?
A little bit transpired between me and Zach. We've tried to keep it as least amount personal as possible, but at some point in this process, it becomes personal. Being sent 30 days before mandatory camp, or however many days it is, that if I don't show up I will be fined, alludes to the fact that something won't get done in that time frame, and that with the lack of communication post-draft made it evidently clear from my party, meaning my wife, my son, my agent, right? Like, we're talking a small group of people, that I had to inform that this might not work out. And that's unfortunate. I don't think it was necessary. I think we all should have hoped for the best until proven otherwise. But through that, other things have transpired, like the importance of me being here in OTAs doesn't seem to be respected, and I think I've carried a lot of respect. I don't mean to insinuate anything about anyone's character, but that was disappointing. I think that's the word of the offseason. I think we gave it our all under Lou's defense, and we did fall short, and that's about being a man too, is standing up. So, good question.
Do you feel the organization has your back, Trey?
They've had my back since free agency originally, coming out of New Orleans with a lot of question marks around my name. So to say they don't have my back is not true. I think they do. I think they've done right by their own perspective. My perspective, unfortunately, is a little different.
Trey, can we start with I guess it was 2023, one of the main questions that when people talk about your situation with the Bengals, is some of the questions that people have is, what went into your decision to sign that 1-year extension if your long-term goal was to get a long-term deal here?
So a little bit of what's happening now foreshadows that year. I had that offer for months before I agreed to it. It wasn't something that I rushed to the altar. It was something that aligned with my family's goals at the time. It gave us a little bit of ability to plan our family, another year to see where I'll be, and that aligned with the goals that I had for my career here in Cincinnati. So, and with the fact that the Bengals never did that before, I carried that as respect as well, and I knew that if I outplayed that, the same respect will be given as it continues. So that is something that would have happened anyway. I think if I did not take that deal, we're talking franchise tagging the 30-year-old, right? That's the magic number. That would be more me than another player coming off the 2 back-to-back seasons. If I did not take an extension, I doubt I would be able to walk away in free agency free.
Trey, when was the last time any numbers were exchanged between his sides?
Go ahead.
When was the last time that any numbers between your side and their side were exchanged?
That's a difficult question too, right? Because it goes on like the meetings that we've had prior to, right? I have a tremendous amount of respect for the ability to be in meetings with them behind closed doors, and what was conveyed of the vision of what I would be in this organization would be, if I continued to play at the level I am, that the door would be open to continue long-term discussions about contracts. So it's one of those things that we're just not seeing eye to eye on the structure. It seems that a shorter deal is something that they are pushing pretty hard. That puts us in the same place I was in 2022, where I have to renegotiate the next year, because if goals are the same and playing at a better level than I did last year, then next year we're just kicking the can down the road. So it's something where I think both parties should understand that a long-term contract with guarantees that know that I can continue to play at the level that I have been is a mutual respect, where that's where my values lie, and it also allows me to stop having to negotiate every offseason about something that has been almost 4 years of doing.
Trey, are you willing to sit out regular season games? You feel like if it came to that, that's something you feel like you might have to do to try to, if it came to that, you'd be willing to do that?
Well, I can raise a hypothetical with a hypothetical. I wouldn't be standing here with you if I got the deal in January, So to say I'm going to sit out or to say I'm not going to, what I can say is I'm very disappointed with the communication that's been had. It's very... Former players have walked in these shoes, and what it foreshadows is not something that I'm excited about to tell my wife and family, like, hey, I'm getting good vibes or should be happy. Those comments stink, and that's what makes this place so special, is that they watch me every day. They see how hard I work. There's no other organization knows me better than this one. They watch me an individual. They see how I carry myself as a human being, and they know me. So it stinks when the value somewhere else, because I was fortunate enough to have that trade request granted, whether it was 1, 2, 3 first-round picks, I had no idea. It gave me the fortunate circumstance to see my value elsewhere, and I'm hoping it doesn't come to that, and I truthfully will put my hope in that. Ultimately, though, my hope is in the Lord. So, thank you.
At this point, do you want to be a Cincinnati Bengal?
Wow, that's a tough question too, because you try not to let the business become personal. I think over the last week or so, it's become personal, unfortunately. And when there's a lack of communication in any relationship, if it's a business or a personal relationship, lack of communication leads to animosity, and that leaves my narrative only to me with no clear direction. So the lack of direction, the lack of communication is leading to things that are allowing me to think about what's going to happen more than how great they have treated me over the last 4 years. Because let me say, my son was born, I've said it to everyone, my son was born right up the road. My wife worked at the Cincinnati VA. This is my home, and I wrote that yesterday. It's home. And unfortunately for myself, I have to deal with that kind of dilemma in my own, finding out business and personal. Because on the one hand, you see OTAs and you smell the grass, and it's football. And man, I'd be lying if I said I didn't love it. And on the other hand, there's a proper time for that. And there's a lot of things that have to change before that happens.
A quick follow-up to that. You talked about how the narrative in your statement yesterday. Why have you made the choice to go to the national media to talk about your side of things?
I think a lot of players in the past have been silent or didn't stand on values where telling the truth will set you free. It's a value my parents raised me with when I was young. As a follower of Christ, the truth is the way. And so to have these tough conversations and say the truth, right? I'm a Floridian. So there's unprovoked shark attacks and there's provoked shark attacks. And the comments that are being made, right? Whatever happened at the combine, whatever happened at the owners' meetings, and the text I got yesterday, this is not something where I'm just twiddling my thumbs thinking, oh, how can I get the next one up? Most of the teammates will agree. I don't spare my opinions. I kind of stay out of the media for that reason because I am an emotional player, and after a loss, it's a lot harder to talk than after a win, especially in the circumstances that we had last season. So I carry it with a tremendous amount of respect, but these things are provoked. I would love to say to sit quiet is a good strategy. It is clearly not. Players have done it all over the league, including Jamar last year. He did a great job being disciplined through the process, and great. I'm so proud of him and the way he handled adversity. I can't speak enough volumes, but he deserved a contract last year, he deserves it this year, and he deserves one in 5 years.
I guess to follow up on that, how frustrating has it been watching T and Jamar get their deals while you're sitting there waiting for yours? And why do you think that there was more emphasis on those two getting done over you?
I think, for one, love, right? I love those guys. I want every player on this team to get their value, and I believe that's fair. I think what they agreed on in their own personal walks is up to them, but them going before me or after me is not something I'm frustrated about. I think if we all can fit, that's the ideal circumstance. I was the one that took the approach of saying, if we don't fit, I'm willing to help the team win in any way, shape, or form. And sometimes there's not fits. And if that's me, so be it. I'm willing and able to work. I love to work, and I look forward to it. But there's no animosity for guys. And the reasoning behind it is probably they have the best quarterback on the planet to spin the ball. So I'd prioritize receivers myself. It is almost like building a fantasy dynasty.
You mentioned personal a few times, that it's become personal. At what point in the process did you start to feel that way? Was it the mini camp fine text or whatever that happened, or when did it go from business to personal?
Well, circumstances changed post-draft and prior to, right? And I think I alluded to that a little bit. So they're starting to change very openly. Conversations are being had, like even to be here today. This is something I felt to do as a man. It has nothing to do with slighting any organization or slighting any of my players. This is something where I know there are questions around my name that need addressing. And as a man, I hope my son looks at this and says, well, I addressed it. You wear your lumps, right, wrong, or indifferent. You move forward and you grow and try to be more like Christ every day. And I need to work on patience. That is something that's clearly evident in my life. And through this, I am able to massage what Trey Hendrickson, the person, has to get better at through this process. So I'm incredibly grateful for the circumstances, not only to glorify the Lord with my play, to have a platform to speak on the behalf of the other players that have gone through this or similar circumstances, to bring light to some of those things and do it in a respectful way, because it's very hard not to take it super personal, because we play an aggressive game.
Are you hoping to meet with the front office while you're in town?
I know Sam Hubbard's foaling event is going, so if you guys don't show up and you were here, that's not a good look. So I'll see you guys there on Thursday. But I'm the 7 o'clock bracket, so let's get there. But truthfully, that was a part of me coming here. Congratulations to him and Jess for getting married. I wish them nothing but success in the next chapter of their lives. I mean, tremendous people. But to follow that up, this was something that happened very quickly. Same thing with the trade, same thing with the comments. These aren't something that I meditated on. It's something that I talked to my wife about it, we prayed about it, and we addressed these things as Hendricksons. And she's fully supporting me in the direction we're going and telling the truth in the tough questions. So
Do you see this as a gesture towards the team and your teammates being out here that you still want to stay here?
I can't control the narratives, right? I think that's one thing I've found through this whole process is the way I feel is not being conveyed, right? Like, I definitely am disappointed. I definitely love Cincinnati. So it's just this weird dilemma, right? And I think players go through it a lot more often. I'm just not going to let fear overtake me to do something and also give me a platform to glorify God in the good and in the bad. So, I'm very blessed, and so the perspectives I can't control. I'm a football player. I'm itching to play football. So.
Trey, it's a voluntary workout, though, so why would you be fined if you didn't show up? How would that work? It's voluntary.
The fines that were communicated with me were talking about mandatory minicamp. That's why I said there was about 20 days until then. I didn't understand the purpose behind shooting me a text. We should have gone 25 days. But again, we can go through the process. I probably would have been upset a day before, an hour before, or 60 days ago. So I don't think there's any way that would have went well. So that was the unfortunate reason I'm here.
Who communicates that?
Do you think it's repairable at this point, coming out? I mean, the way things have gone.
Well, I think every relationship is repairable, right? Like I think Myles Garrett proved that. He's a great man, and he's done great things for his family, and obviously providing on and off the football field, he's tremendous. But I think that relationship will repair with time, and same with this. This is just the uncomfortable business side that we've unfortunately had to deal with for the last couple years, and quite frankly, I think we're all spent. So go ahead.
Do you think that to some degree you're being nitpicked, whether it be your age is often brought up, in previous years the Bengals haven't, done long-term deals with guys over 30, then, people talk about, different parts of your game. Like, do you look at it as my stats and my performance and impact for this team speak for themselves? Does it almost feel like nitpicky to some degree?
I talked to James and Paul briefly about it, and also you. Like, probably like to let my production do the talking. There is a time and a place as a man that you do need to address things, and and to say this isn't benefiting the team. I'm okay saying that. There's a part of that it's us. There's two sides of this that are. It's the organization and myself and my family. So it's a weird dilemma, right? So. I don't harbor animosity. I'm not going to start doing that kind of things. I would like it to stick to business, but it seems like the business is not as. If I sat here with 4 sacks, I think they'd want a little back, right? And that is fair to me, and I think it's fair to all 53 other players that play. The other way, I don't think they see as fair. So.
Who communicated the fine part? I'm just not sure how that process goes.
Zach shot me a text, and it was received. That's another way I can grow. I need to be patient and more level-headed, and I look forward to that moving forward as a human being that's going through whatever this part is that they didn't, like I said it, I think 2 years ago or last year. They definitely didn't educate me on this at FAU, right? Like, you don't get this kind of media training, nor do you get this kind of circumstances thrown at you. So first and foremost, I'm a follower of Christ. Second, I'm a father. And third, I'm a husband, right? And those are my priorities right now. And those are the things that I speak the truth. I'm ready to answer. Like, you guys have great questions, and I appreciate them. And this has been a tremendous blessing to have a platform to voice that. So, anything else you got?
Yeah, I think one more.
Expect to talk to Zach today. Is that important to you?
I think communication with Zach is going well, right? Like, as well as it can. So we're gonna just take that day by day. I love him. I think he's a great coach. I think he tells the truth. In no way do I feel like he has not conveyed anything that's not truthful to me. And I think he's a man of integrity, right? He leads and he wears the lumps, and I respect him. I hope he respects me. I never want to hurt his character in this process. He was one of the people that did know of the conversations that took place last year, and I look forward to those kind of things being resolved. And that's what I meant by, like, people have gone through this before, right? And we're just not agreeing on some parts of what was communicated because there weren't verbal numbers that could forecast what Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, and Danielle Hunter are getting. So having that conversation in July of 2024 does not forecast May of 2025.
So can you shed more light on that, on what was communicated last year? It sounds like they wanted to say, hey, next year we'll give you a market deal, and then the market changed.
Right. It wasn't even to that point, and credit to a well-run organization like the Bengals. There were nothing in stone, right? And they have the ability to say they've done right by me, and that's okay with my family. If that's the way it goes, so be it. I'm not going to apologize for the rates of the defensive ends being paid in the National Football League. I also think it should be celebrated that talent has made its way into Cincinnati. Multiple places, linebacker, offensive line, wide receiver, quarterback. I mean, there's no place that doesn't have a stud, including BJ Hill, so he's incredible. So those are the kind of conversations that took place, which was basically go do it, play it out, we'll take care of you. And that's the cliff notes of it. It's not a direct quote, nor do I plan on quoting them in any way, shape, or form. It's just disappointing being on the other side of it and seeing where we are now, taking on that risk and trying to lead the 27th best defense in the country to win a Super Bowl. So,
Is there any way in your mind, Trey, that you would play this year on your current contract and just play it out? Is that even something you would even consider? Is that an option?
no.
Trey, with the contract you're looking for, do you think there's anything you can do to get the Bengals to change their mind on what they'd be willing to offer you?
I think if I haven't put the work in and showed who I am as a person on and off the field, and as a player on the field and off the field, how I conduct myself. Another disappointing thing is I don't get to see Hobbs walking through the building and lifting this off season. That's a part of walking the Cincinnati Nature Center, walking the zoo with my wife and son, creating memories in the place that I've able to produce for my family. Those are the things that people aren't writing about, right? Like, those are the things I miss. The people that have accepted me as a Floridian into Ohio, that's special stuff, and it's disappointing.
Trey, just to clear it up, because I don't know the next time we'll get to talk to you. Do you anticipate participating in mandatory minicamp and or training camp without a new deal?
Right. That's a great question. I don't have predictive analysis. I've been hoping for the best through this entire process. The only thing that alluded to fines in my book was the text I got yesterday from Zach. That was the first time that I knew fines are there. I mean, we clearly saw that on multiple fronts since I've been here. So fines are a part of the NFL, right? And we'll take them as they come. I thought this was a little early to talk about fines personally with how I've conducted myself in protecting the organization, right? The place that's allowed me to provide for my family and play football in the National Football League. I was inactive in New Orleans. I was a special teamer in New Orleans. I was a starter here in Cincinnati, and I was a Pro Bowler here in Cincinnati and an All-Pro. I have done every bit of the National Football League from the top down. I was on the bubble in 2019. You can look up articles in New Orleans that I was one of the 5 players that might not make the roster. So I'm incredibly humbled to stand before you guys and talk about potential extensions and things like that. And that's the part that's disappointing, is hard work works, and I'm a firm believer in that. And it's disappointing.
Just to clarify, did Zach's text come before or after your statement yesterday?
Before.
Thanks, Trey. Appreciate it.
God bless.